Let Freedom Ring. As always, we got security here. We're keep. I have to pay out of my own pocket, and it gets expensive to keep the head of the studio out of here. Now that we know Nick was the attacker, but that's all right. We do have Karate Kid stuff on the table. I know one is a Ninja Turtle. Okay, Colin, is he going to storm my set again? No, he's not. Okay. All right, let's get right into this. Very excited for this episode. Making his second appearance on the show, Phil Harris from the Jacks Rangers podcast.
How you doing, man?
Or Jack Rangers Show.
The Jacks Rangers Show, yeah.
Back for a second appearance, so.
I got you a little gift here.
Oh, really?
Yep, so for the camera here, this is a vintage Jacks Rangers Show little tote bag here. That's for you, my friend.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I know, and he sent me some stickers before that I got hanging on my when I do the live stream. I have them hanging up in the background.
Good.
Thank you for that, Phil.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Now we had you back. We had you on, I believe, April maybe. How you been since your last appearance?
It's been great, man. I mean, other than what happened most recently at Fort Quincy, it's been a pretty good season. We went regular season 13-3. So really good. Everything else has been fantastic. The show's growing. We've got 55 subscribers. We're not up to like 100 and whatever, 60, something like that you are at this point, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, but it's popular. You get that whole section going when you're at the games.
Yep, exactly. So Section 5 is where the Rangers and the Continentals all sit. And we make quite a bit of noise there at Fort Quincy. It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
I did want to get in there. I actually didn't know where my seats were on Saturday.
Right.
But I wasn't sure because I had my dad with me and my brother. And I was like, I want to get up in there. But I don't think they were quite ready for that.
What's interesting is there were people there that just bought the playoff tickets. They weren't there for the regular season. So those people showed up and did not know what to think with us chanting and just making as much noise as possible. They eventually got into it, but they were like, what in the heck is going on right now? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It was cool to be up there because I did get to be in that section with you during the Friday the 13th game.
Yes. With our Jason mask, it was awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, I brought my buddy Nagel. We were on our way to a softball tournament. So we were going to go the night before. So we had to drive to, where did we go?
Rhode Island or something?
Yeah, maybe it was Providence. I don't know where we were. Yeah, Providence. And he's like, I want to go. I want to check this out.
Yeah.
And I swear, everybody I brought to a game was like, that was not what I expected, and that was a freaking blast.
Well, I appreciate you doing that because that's exactly what needs to help the game grow is bring people that's never seen it before, get them in front of rugby, and they'll love it. And the atmosphere there also helps out quite a bit.
Yeah, and I love the stadium, and but I feel like they're eventually going to outgrow that.
Yes, eventually they will. So I think it was 3,500 was the playoff game that we had there, which is the highest attendance. Almost the highest attendance in the entire league. I think Utah has us beat by 100 earlier in the year. So eventually we will outgrow that place. If everything continues as we expect, the Free Jacks should have maybe 8,000 in a couple years. So that'll outgrow Fort Quincy, and they'll have to build their own rugby-specific stadium. Who knows where it's going to be, but it's going to be awesome because as a founding member, our names are going to be etched on it somewhere on the future stadium.
Love to see it grow, and I made the mistake of on the way down, we stopped at my brother Mike's to see the baby. He just bought a house, wanted to see the house. It was me, my dad, and my brother. I fell asleep on the ride to the game.
Okay.
I wake up and we're like there. And instead of taking the right towards the school, he took the left. I said, oh no, you just set us back 15 minutes. We need to go at least the other direction because there's going to be nothing over there.
Exactly.
And there wasn't.
No. Yeah, I got the priority parking. I think it's like $260 for the regular season. I think it's worth it. I mean, there's plenty of spaces in there. And even if you don't get it, you can always walk up there to tailgate, which is awesome. We had about 50 people for the playoff game. One guy was literally making hibachi. He had all the rice, eggs, steak, and he was just making it up, dude, with the whole grill and everything. I was like, this is exactly what we want, for a community thing.
Oh, 100%. I might do that next year because, obviously it's not the Patriots, but you can get that atmosphere, and
that's right.
And it's spring.
Yeah.
And now
nice
we're into
weather.
June. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't great on Sunday though.
No, I mean it was a little chilly, but I wasn't complaining because I hate warm weather. So
okay, that's right. That's
it's
why
been
you're
good.
Here, right?
Yeah, it's been good this year. With now last year I almost passed out. We had like a 96-degree weather game last year at Fort Union Point. That was awful. So I'm glad that we didn't experience that at all this year.
Yeah, no, it's been
ideal.
I hate the cold.
Okay,
I guess that's just, but I've always lived in New Hampshire.
Right,
so.
exactly.
Now I want to ask you this, and we sort of kind of touched on it. It was the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes,
it was
sir.
Rugby New York versus New England Free Jacks.
New Jersey, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. We say we're from New York,
yes.
But we're not.
They like to pretend, guys.
What do you think the atmosphere was for an Eastern Conference Final game? Because this is really the biggest game hosted by the Free Jacks.
It was. Everything was, building up to that point, and I got to say, my hat's off to them. The organization did a fantastic job in, getting people in the door. And when that took place, I think everybody knew how important that event was, and they really brought their A game. I'm still a little hoarse. You can hear it in my throat. Every time I do the podcast, which is the Jacks Rangers show, I do it like a day or two after the games, and my voice is always affected because I'm yelling the entire time. We had so many people, and also one of the co-owners dropped off a duffel bag of these and said, "Have at them." There was like 50 of them, so you heard a lot of cowbells. I even had a miniature megaphone when I was leading the chants. So it was fantastic, just an electric atmosphere for 3,500. It seems a bit intimate for most people that are American sports fans, but man, it's loud in there at Fort Quincy. Man. It's a great time.
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, when we pulled in, just seeing the lines, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
They're drawing. They're drawing big time, and yeah. And then, the other cool thing I noticed we're driving, because I did fall asleep, but I was awake for a little bit. Mm-hmm. They had Bodie and Waka pictures for the Free Jacks all down Main Street.
Yeah, so Quincy is like, it's about 8 miles south of Boston. It's a nice place because they've got everything, but it's also got that small town feel. So they've got those banners up on Main Street, announcing that the Free Jacks are here. It's Major League Rugby. So they've really embraced the Free Jacks. And the Free Jacks, to their credit, have reached out to the city and basically embraced them and said, "We're your team." And the city's been like fantastic. The mayor has been out to games. The Free Jacks presented him with an honorary jersey. It's just been a fantastic partnership.
No, it's great. I mean, when we're pulling in, I don't know how I dozed off right before we got to the stadium, but I remember my brother being like, "Oh, whoa, okay." And then he started freaking out because he saw like groups of people walking. He goes, "Are they walking all the way from here to get?" I said, "I'm not sure. I hope not."
It's definitely possible because the red line is about a mile. There's a stop of the red line about a mile for the T there.
Oh,
so people do walk, about a mile to get there.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know I could take the
And that was crucial in picking Fort Quincy because they wanted access to mass transit nearby, and they got that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely awesome. Now I have to ask this. What are your thoughts on the game, on the overall game? There was a lot of penalties, a lot of issues.
Yeah.
You're going to know better. I played rugby for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing the refs were terrible. And sometimes when you're at the games, you're like, well, what was that call? I missed what that was.
The laws of rugby, there's so many of them. And even me, having been exposed to the game at 17, and now I'm 37, so I've been playing and watching for 20 years now, I don't know all the laws. But the thing is that the referee is the sole interpreter of the laws during the game. And the thing is, most of the time, they're nameless people that just get the calls right? They're consistent with both sides. Unfortunately, we saw in this game that was not the case. Unfortunately, with this referee, there was quite a few calls where there were no calls made, and it should have been a penalty, or it seems like they went in the wrong direction, unfortunately. Specifically, one of the first plays of the game, or the first noticeable issues, was there was a forward pass for New Jersey's try. In rugby, you can't pass the ball forward. So when the ball left the player's hands, it advanced prior to the New Jersey player catching the ball and scoring a try, which is kind of like a touchdown. And everybody there at the stadium saw it. Everybody at Fort Quincy was yelling. It was a forward pass, forward pass. Well, if the referee must have been confident in his decision there because he never went to what's called the television match official. So they can utilize what's called a TMO, television match official, to look at the play to see if the referee got it right or wrong. He never did that for whatever reason. And that was kind of the beginning where we saw that, okay, this is not going to be good with the referee for whatever reason today. It's not going to be our day. So ultimately the Free Jacks did not capitalize in certain opportunities to win the game outright, and the referee played a huge part in helping New Jersey along, unfortunately.
Because they definitely saw it. They saw the knock-on that could have led for the try for us.
Right, yep. The no call on Mitch Wilson in the air, so he's jumping into the air to catch the ball. The rule is, or the law rather, you cannot tackle someone in the air. It's a player safety issue. Well, Mitch gets tackled, no call whatsoever. It should have been at least a penalty, maybe even a yellow card, depending on how bad it looked with the instant replay, TMO, all of that sort of stuff. Could have been taken into consideration. Unfortunately, it was not. So the Free Jacks, got bit by the referee a couple times and ultimately just didn't capitalize on their opportunities to win the game. And unfortunately, they did not advance to the finals.
Yeah, I'm still kind of...
It's a bummer. It's a bummer.
It really, because
it sucks.
It would have been awesome if we could have hosted that too.
Yeah, I mean, everything was in front of us from a Free Jacks perspective. Because we had the best overall record in MLR, we were going to host the final if we were happened to get there for the championship. So it's split up into Eastern and Western conferences. The winner out of the West is Seattle. They were definitely going to come to either Hoboken, New Jersey, or Fort Quincy, and now it has to be. They actually had to move the venue because New Jersey's current venue is a really bad high school stadium.
Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, so they had to move it to Red Bull Arena, which is the MLS teams there in New Jersey. Yep.
Well, hopefully they get a lot of people there, and it bums me out more is it's going to be on Fox.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is good New England exposure here, and it's like, I do have one other thing because I was a little bit confused. Bodie Waka took a hit.
Yes.
And it looked like it should have been something, but then it's like, nope. One of the Free Jacks heading to the sin bin.
Yeah.
What went on that? Because I'm still a little like, I was like, wait a second. What,
I did. If you're there at the stadium, what took place is what we saw was Bodie Waka gets a late hit, and in rugby you have to wrap your arms around for the tackle. The player for New Jersey did not do that. He just basically charged into him. Waka's down injured for quite some time. There's no call on the field. The people in attendance were absolutely fuming over this, and then the referee kind of checks it with the TMO. From what we saw, and then we get a yellow card, which is 10 minutes in the sin bin, and it was 73 minutes in, so that player, Regan O'Gorman, was not able to come back into the game. He was out for the rest of the game. What took place apparently, and I didn't watch the broadcast, I did see the highlights, and the referee's always wearing a mic, so the broadcast can hear what he's saying, and basically what he tells Regan O'Gorman is prior to that hit on Waka, there was a breakdown in a ruck where he kind of did some dangerous stuff. I don't think he punched a guy, but he definitely did a little bit of dangerous stuff, apparently. Nobody saw it at the stadium, by the way, but he gives Regan O'Gorman a yellow card. Nothing happens for the Waka hit on that for the New Jersey player. Baffling stuff for everybody involved. In fact, one of the commentators that were involved in the match, one of the best rugby commentators in the world, happened to call the incident bizarre in the broadcast, and it was. All signs point to just not a great day for that referee, and definitely it was a bit of favoritism when you look at his calls in favor of New Jersey.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I mean the whole crowd was shocked.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, we're the ones getting penalized here? And
at that point, we were only down by 1 point. So there was plenty of time left for the Free Jacks to mount a comeback and win that game.
I mean, I looked, my dad, he's seen me play rugby against St. A's one time, so that's probably like his second rugby game ever.
Yeah.
And I just said, we're cooked.
Yeah.
We're cooked.
I felt the same way.
It's
difficult. It's 15 on 15. So when you lose a player, it's 14 on 15. But the referee, let's just add him as another man for New Jersey. It was 16 on 14 for the last 10 minutes. So it was difficult odds, unfortunately, for the Free Jacks.
Now, when that all went down, here's where I started. So we had New York players, New Jersey players, or whatever they want to be.
I'm calling them frauds right now. The New Jersey frauds.
We had some of their players in the stands, and it almost is like they had a little tent there, and they had guys on the computer, whatever they're doing their research. Sure. I don't know. It's a weird spot to be in the stadium.
Yes.
My issue, and I wrote this on one of the comments somewhere. There was about 3 or 4, and they were heckling throughout the game.
Right.
But during it, there was a lot of children there, and some of their language was not great.
Sure.
When Bodie went down, they're calling him the P word.
Oh, boy.
In front of kids.
That's not nice.
And you don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No, of course not.
Especially, I mean, there's people that have been paralyzed playing rugby.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yep. What are your thoughts of player? Like, it's just like, if you're yelling that from your bench and you're away from the fans, you're away from kids, I just found it really inappropriate. And a New York fan came at me and said, well, Free Jack fans were drinking beer at a high school. I go, okay, so fans are at the same level as the players?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're getting a paycheck from Rugby New Jersey and you've got their emblem on your polo or whatever they were wearing, you should probably watch your mouth. I think a solution to that is if those guys were not going to be, if they weren't suited up to play, they should be, behind the bench across the field away from the actual spectators. I think that's the solution. But yeah, just one more thing to, reason not to like New Jersey, ultimately.
Yeah, no, and I don't want to say like, it's kind of like, they kind of, in a way, it was ruining it. There's one thing to be fans.
Yes.
Right? And
right.
fans are going to say what they're going to say.
Yes.
But the fact there were players in the stands and they're not acting professional, I was very taken back by that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your position for sure, man. It's like I said, it's one more reason not to like New Jersey.
Yeah, and at one point, because again, there was a guy sitting behind me. He had about 3 young children, and you could see. And I just turned around and I was like, "You're really yelling that?
Right?
Do you read the room, guys?
For sure.
You're not good enough to even be on the bench. You're gonna be yelling stuff like this."
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a heated rivalry, but at the same time, as you were saying, know the room. Like, what are you doing?
Who wins the finals? Is it going to be New York or Seattle?
I'm hoping Seattle wins. I don't want to see New Jersey lift that trophy. By the way, in the Eastern Conference Finals, when they did beat New England, they were hoisting up the Eastern Conference Final trophy, and they happened to just break it as they're hoisting it up, which is poetic justice considering the referee was against us the whole time and essentially just gave them the trophy. So yeah, I'm pulling for Seattle. Listen, New Jersey's been tough all year. They're built to win a championship. They brought in some All Blacks, which is New Zealand national team players, and they're built to win a championship, and they could do it. I'm just pulling for Seattle. I'm hoping Seattle wins.
Yeah, I'm going to pull for Seattle too.
Yeah.
And we beat them twice. They beat us twice then in the end.
Yeah.
Yep. That was the other thing I was saying. I was like, man, that's going to be the only matchup we had 3 times, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's 3 times in the regular season and then 1 time in the playoffs. So it ended up 2-2. We beat them twice at their place, and they beat us twice at our place. Crazy. It's going to be crazy next year with the games against New Jersey. They are going to be spicy for sure.
I can't wait. I'm like already sad this isn't, because I love, I couldn't make every game, but I just love being like, oh, Friday night, I'm there, let's go. It's just so much fun.
Absolutely.
Cam, and I can never
Davidowitz.
I need to learn how to say that.
I might be getting it wrong. I don't know.
Cam, if you're watching,
let us know.
Let us know. But he wins Rookie of the Year from Plymouth State. Kind of what got me into watching this, because I had known about it, but then the pandemic hit.
Yes.
I don't know what happened in 2021, wasn't really paying attention, but when I heard they took a Plymouth State kid, I was like, oh, I want it. Okay, now I got a reason. And you could watch it more this year.
Yeah.
I think, than any other year.
For sure.
He won Rookie of the Year for the Free Jacks, not the league.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and by the way, he also won the Fans Player of the Year. That a couple of our guys that are within the first regiment came up with the idea of doing this, and then the Jacks Ranger Show just put it on blast and put it out everywhere. So we had about 600 votes, and he won the Fans Player of the Year. So local kid from Boston. I think his family are farmers, which is, how cool is that, right?
Yeah.
He went to Plymouth State, as you're saying. So you and Bozo are both have that connection with him. Just the nicest kid in the world. Worked his butt off and ultimately waited for his turn, because he has been a development player for the Free Jacks in previous years. He's played for Mystic, which is like their feeder club at the amateur level. And one of those things is, like, when you get into the lineup, you want to be undeniable. And that's exactly what he was. They could not pick him. So, he's been fantastic, and I'm so proud of him.
It's crazy to think, though, I guess a kid from Plymouth State is playing against guys that played for the All Blacks, playing with someone that played for the All Blacks. That's kind of wild to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Now, what do you think the future is going into next year for the Free Jacks? Are we going to lose Bodine Walker?
I hope not. I know his intention is to stay. He's told that to people after the last game. He's already headed back to New Zealand. So what happens with Waka and those level of players is they're going to head back to their home country, and they're going to have an opportunity to play in what's called the NPC, which is their minor league. I mean, they're still paid players, but it's not the top level of rugby in that country. It's basically like AAA. So he's going to play there from like August until December. So he's a full-time rugby player. So he plays here from January until June, and then goes back home and plays their season. So he's getting paid full-time to play rugby, which is awesome. How cool is that? Plays year-round. But I think ultimately I'm hoping that he does stay. What happens with these guys is when they play an NPC, if they impress, they might get a chance to get Super League or Super Rugby contract. If that's the case, they will not play for the Free Jacks because it'll conflict with that schedule. But what's interesting, I think last year he didn't play very much for Waitako, which is the team that he plays for in NPC. So we'll just have to wait and see. If his form carries over, maybe he does get an opportunity. But my guess is he'll probably be back.
I hope so, because he's definitely my favorite player.
He's the best player on the team. I mean, he scored all of the Free Jacks points in the playoff game, 16 total points for Waka. Nobody else scored.
Yeah, he's unreal. However they found him.
What's crazy is he's been on the team since the very beginning,
yeah.
Interestingly enough. So, yeah, happy to have him back next year if he does come back.
Do you see where do you see the future of the league, just from a year span from now to next year?
I mean, I hope that we get better attendances in some of the other markets. So I think I've explained this previously on the show. Is it's kind of like states where like it's almost an experiment within the market that these teams are in, where some of them are going to do it right, some of them are going to do it wrong. I'm talking about the ownership and the organization. There's a lot of empty seats in places like New Orleans. So they need to kind of figure that out. I'm hoping for more attendances and better financial positioning for the league going forward, more corporate sponsors, all of that sort of stuff, and more expansion too. That'll also help because there's an expansion fee of millions of dollars that owners have to pay in new markets to come into the league. So that'll help the league going forward.
And one more thing just on this. Did we ever figure out what happened with the Guiltinis?
So there's actually a lawsuit filed by the group that is run by the ownership of the Guiltinis and the Gilgronis against the league. So they're suing each other at this point. The speculation is that they were cooking the books in Austin. Basically, there's a salary cap for MLR. I think it's $500,000, which is not a lot, obviously, compared to most sports in the United States and everywhere else. But the league is so new that they want to protect themselves from a financial position. What was happening is that, allegedly, these teams were paying under the table, essentially, to get better quality players in, thus affecting the competition. Because if everybody else is playing by the rules, then they have an advantage. So the league looked into that because this particular owner was going to sell that franchise in Austin. He has one in LA as well. He was going to sell the Austin franchise. So apparently there was an audit of the books, and the owner was like, the new owner, prospective owner was like, what is going on here?
Oh, wow.
So the league got involved, and basically this owner that owns LA and Austin threatened to pull LA out of the competition as well for the playoffs, and then backed down on that. And then the league was like, no, your teams are banned for the playoffs.
Oh,
so
wow.
the two best Western Conference teams in terms of points, actually I don't think that's actually true. Two of the best informed teams in the Western Conference were kicked out of the playoffs prior to them starting, is what has happened. Yeah.
And that's a tough one there. That's something they definitely have to get on top of.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll be back next year, or?
It's a big question mark right now. It would be interesting if both of those teams folded, because this guy, he basically owns like the West Coast and Australian version of Planet Fitness.
Okay.
That's how he made his millions of dollars. He recently went onto the stock exchange for this company and has made millions and millions of dollars. So he can play the long game in this and tie up the league in court. So I think it could be a situation where he removes the teams from the league just as a screw you guys, I'm going home. If that's the case, that's going to be awful in terms of press and both of those teams not playing. It's going to get messy, but I think the league ultimately will survive beyond this, and they need to be more careful with the owners that they bring in going forward. They can't just see guys with bags of money and just like, come on in.
Yeah.
That's a mistake.
Because could he really just pull him? Like Bob Kraft could not just pull the New England Patriots out of the NFL.
I feel like he could. I mean, because ultimately these teams are independently owned by these individual owners, and they agree to certain specific league rules and stuff like that to join the league. Obviously, they have to pay money as well to join the league. So potentially he could just remove them from the equation and say, I'm done.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
If that's the case, it's terrible for the fans in Austin and LA. But hopefully we'll have expansion as well to replace those teams, because Chicago, oddly enough, does not have a team. Third largest TV market, one of the biggest populations in the country, does not have an MLR team right now.
Yeah, I could see Chicago definitely.
I would love that. Yeah.
So, all right, awesome. Well, we want just another sport here. Gronk finally retires.
Right.
Do you think this is legit?
I hope so. He's had a lot of injuries and stuff like that over the years. So, I mean, I feel like he can still do it, but I'm hoping for the best for him and just like taking a long time away and just retire. I'm not a huge American football fan. I'm growing less and less into it as MLR gets more and more popular and stuff like that. I focus most of my time on that. more of a college football fan. But even that is kind of, I'm waning away from that as well. But yeah, hoping for the best. My favorite Gronk moment, by the way, is Yo Soy Fiesta. That was fantastic. Yeah, that was good. That's just like the essence of Gronk, right? He's trying to explain he's a party guy, but he also messes up the translation. Fantastic.
He's played so smart too, like his career, that he became a character. Like
yeah.
WWE used him.
Right.
I think they'll probably end up using him again.
Why not?
At some point, but he was smart with his money.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, good for him, man. Ultimately, I mean, you're creating that brand for yourself where you're like the party go, like the very night, like, the party goer, the easy goer guy. But apparently Bill Belichick said that he's one of the smartest football minds he's ever encountered, which is awesome. You would never predict it.
I've heard that he says that, like, I don't watch tape, which is a lie.
I don't believe it. Yeah, I don't believe it.
I will say, and I think the last time you were on, did Brady already come out of retirement? Did we already discuss?
We talked about that, yeah.
I think he had retired, but he
came back. Yeah, he came back. Yeah.
Was that shocking to you, or were you like?
I think what I had mentioned on there previously is I think it was more of an internal tug of war between him and the head coach of the Buccaneers at that time. So he came back, and then all of a sudden that coach has retired, Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
So Brady's essentially running the team now, I guess. I don't know. It is sad that both of those guys left the Patriots and went elsewhere. It tarnishes their legacy. Now, both of them are first ballot Hall of Famers, no-brainer, right? But from a New England perspective, you're just like, God, I wish they would have just stayed or just retired with us, right?
That's how a lot of people feel. Because I'm getting tired of this. We might have talked about this before. I'm always going to root for Tom. I'm starting to get annoyed.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, you retired. This is behind us. I'm tired of hearing this, like, Tampa Bay Patriots fans. I hate. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of a team, and I get in this debate with people all the time, and I used to be in the sports group that was a trash talking sports group.
Yep.
Are you allowed to wear jerseys of other teams?
No.
Or hats? See.
So here's the thing. I have a unique perspective on this because I was born and raised in the Carolinas, right? So I grew up a Carolina Panthers fan when they got the team there. But I've moved up here. I've been here for 12 years, so I like the Patriots because that's all you see on TV, and that's all everybody talks about. So I like both teams, but I don't have a Carolina Panthers jersey. Like, I've got a banner and like a hat and stuff like that that's hanging up in my studio, but I don't have both jerseys.
See, I grew up a baseball guy.
Sure.
So I have I wear like a Cincinnati Reds hat all the time. I don't care about the Reds.
Right.
I love that logo.
Yeah.
The baseball guy.
Sure.
I will rock a Braves hat because I did love the Braves growing up.
Right.
And the Red Sox, but the Braves were on TBS every single night.
Yeah.
You had to pay for Nesson to watch the Red Sox.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you were like, that was like, watching the Red Sox was a treat.
Yeah.
Until Nesson became free.
Oh, that's interesting. One of my fraternity brothers, who's from Pembroke, Massachusetts, was a Braves fan as well. That must have been the same reason.
Everybody in the country could watch them,
Yeah.
And the other thing was, too, my grandmother was a Boston Braves fan.
Okay.
And then they left.
Right.
And she became a Yankees fan.
Oh.
But I've called her on the show. All right, rest in peace, Nana.
Rest in peace.
But when the Red Sox finally won the World Series, she bounced back to a Boston.
Beautiful. Great. That's a nice ending, huh?
But we just got into that. I think I there's some jerseys of players that I just like. I love Brett Favre.
Sure.
I hated him when he beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, but like I have a Brett Favre Packers jersey. I have a Brett Favre Vikings jersey. Wouldn't get a Jets one, obviously.
Oh, right, yes.
Like, there's certain things you don't do.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, you have that line in the sand where you'll never get a Jets jersey even though he went there. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. People do what you want to do, I guess, right? Yeah. Ultimately is the thing. But for me personally, I wouldn't wear anything, other than a Patriots jersey or maybe a Panthers jersey. That's just my personal opinion.
No, that's fine. All right, let's get into top fives because we got some good ones here.
Sure. I wrote all my stuff down here.
Oh, perfect, yeah. Perfect.
I'm prepared this time.
This is one of my favorite categories, favorite parts of the show.
All right.
Top 5 free jacks of 2022.
All right. So I actually wrote LaRue Milan. That's a tough one at 5, but I had to mark him out. He's an honorable mention because I forgot to put in Mitch Wilson. Mitch Wilson, an amazing player, plays wing, can play center, I think, but he also plays fullback. This is a guy. If he walked into this room right now, you'd say, "There's no way that guy's a rugby player." Like, he's 5'0", super skinny. You're like, "You play soccer or something?" But he is tough as nails. We call him Iron Man, And he's just one of those guys, kind of like Cam, where he was just never going to be not be in the lineup. Once he got his opportunity, you can't not pick him because he's just so good. He's actually going to be in the U.S. Eagles camp this summer.
Oh, wow.
So he could get his first cap. So he's my number 5. Cam Davidis, we talked about him previously, number 4. Kyle the Eagle Sequeira, number 3. New England guy. Played at St. Bonnie's, was an All-American rugby player, was really, really rough around the edges, just kind of like a diamond in the rough type of thing. But he's had some opportunities this year. I think he started like 6 or 7 games at prop. Fantastic rugby player. Slade Mcdowell, a.k.a. Slade Wilson. For whatever reason, I always call him Slade Wilson, which is not a true name. Came over from Super Rugby. He was a Highlander player down there in New Zealand. Has been the best acquisition, I think, for the Free Jacks all year. Now, he got suspended because he plays like he's an edge type of player. Like, he can get suspended for doing crazy stuff. So he wasn't in the past 3 or 4 games for the Free Jacks. But prior to that, one of the best players on the team for sure. He plays flanker. And then finally, Bodine Waka, of course. Mr. MVP. I think he's going to win the league's MVP, and it will be well-deserved.
I mean, he was phenomenal all year. Now, one name not on there that I'm a little shocked, but I guess he didn't do Dougie Fife.
Dougie Fife,
Where did he fall?
It's interesting. Like last year, Dougie at the beginning of the season scored a lot of tries for the Free Jacks. I think him at 15, his primary responsibilities is defensive because he's the last line of defense. If somebody breaks through the line for another team, he's there. He's like the person to tackle. He's there for up and unders, like to catch those balls and stuff like that. And occasionally he will be an offensive threat. But ultimately, I don't think he touched the ball enough and was impactful enough in those touches to make it into the top 5. Fantastic player, probably the most experienced and most decorated player that the Free Jacks have. And oldest player, by the way, at 31 years old.
Oh,
Not
wow.
very old,
Yeah.
but oldest for this team. Great player, doesn't make it into the top 5, unfortunately.
Think he'll be back? Is he still in the contract?
I don't know if he's under contract. I actually texted the general manager today to see if I can get a list of who's out of contract. I want to do a segment on the Jacks Ranger shows sometime soon about that. Not sure if he is or not. Hope he's back.
Are you going to be doing a lot of anything off season with Jack Rangers? Or?
Oh yeah. So the plan is we're going to have one more episode this month in the month of June, and then beyond that we'll do probably a once or twice a month episode all the way until the preseason. That's when we'll get cranked up again. But we're going to have player interviews. We're going to do graphics. We're going to do tournaments of like, what is your dream signing? What is your dream sponsor on the kit? Like, we're going to do a lot of stuff, man. This thing ain't over. We're going to keep going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, now here's one that I'm interested to know.
All right.
Top 5 wrestling tag teams.
You know what's crazy is like you know this about me is I grew up a wrestling fan, WCW mainly, and obviously I watched the Attitude Era as well for WWE, but I don't watch it anymore. My girlfriend is a wrestling fan, but she doesn't watch it either. But she would like every time there's an event in Manchester, she wants to go, and I'll go.
Coming up.
Yeah, I mean I'll definitely go, and she's like I said, she loves to watch it in those circumstances, but doesn't just watch it randomly. But ultimately, like I had to think about some of these because it's just not in my mind ever. So I've got the Road Warriors at 5. Great look, right? And highly decorated. The Dudley Boys. How fun were the Dudley Boys with the tables?
The Dudleys, I don't know if you got to see them in ECW, and I always bring up Dayton, Ohio, when they almost started a riot.
I don't know about that.
I was watching it live on TV, and then, Bubba Ray said in an interview since they got followed to their car.
Oh, no.
They came out and they said some really graphic things that I'm not going to say here on Merrimack TV. But at the end of it, he said, you know what the best part about this is? None of you people have the balls to do anything about it. And I don't know if you knew ECW, some of those people, they fall. So they got followed to their car that night.
About that?
So the Dudleys were like, and Bubba Ray even said this. He goes, "Did we cross the line?" He goes, "Every single night."
Love it.
Love it. That's my 1 and 2.
Yes.
Dudley's 1 and LOD 2.
No kidding. Okay.
So I'm curious to hear the rest here.
So Brothers of Destruction, right? Like Undertaker's in my top 3 of all-time wrestlers. I think Ric Flair's number 1, Undertaker number 2, and then Kane. I mean, I love his politics now. By the way, Glenn Jacobs. There you go.
Mayor of Knoxville.
That's right. And just what a force that they were together, right? The Outsiders, Hall and Nash, number 2, right? And then finally, because I'm a North Carolinian, the Hardy Boys. Like how cool were they as well back in the day?
Oh, the Hardys have been great. And, I talked about this. I was on the Ring and All Their Sports on Monday with Leo Connors. and we kind of talked about Jeff Hardy got another DWI.
I heard about that, yeah.
If you do watch the video, man, he deserves it. He needs to be serving some time because it's not his first. It's not his first one, and it's one thing too. We said this on Leo's show, to have an addiction. I understand addiction is horrible and it ruins lives. But on the flip side of that, when you decide to get behind the wheel of a car,
yeah, not good.
Now I'm starting not to have. You have enough money for an Uber,
right?
You have enough money to probably pay a driver. So at that point, it's like people are like, "Well, he's got a problem." I go, "Yeah, but he put other people's lives in danger.
Right.
Like he needs to see a jail cell for a little
sure.
bit."
Yeah.
You know,
it's a shame because he's had substance abuse issues. I feel like for a long time now.
His whole career.
Yep.
I mean, what was the pay-per-view in TNA in 2011? They had to. Jeff walks out to wrestle Sting, and he's messed up.
No kidding.
Eric Bischoff had to come down, and he grabs the referee. Sting comes down, literally grabs Jeff Hardy, throws him down the mat, holds him down, pins him for the 1, 2, 3. And the fans, not only in attendance, but people paid for a pay-per-view.
Right.
And nobody caught this till they saw him walking down to the ring, that he was in no condition to wrestle a match.
That's awful, yeah.
So it's a long history with him.
I knew that there was substance abuse issues, but I didn't know like what you're talking about just now. I didn't know anything about that. Like back in the day, they were awesome with with the tables and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, they put their body on the line every single time they went out there. So that's the Hardy Boys that I remember.
Oh yeah, and you know what the other thing is? Jeff debuted on Raw when he was 16 years old. They lied about their age.
Incredible, right?
You know,
gosh. And I think they had their own promotion back then in North Carolina too.
They had a backyard wrestling thing, which got them in. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff with the Hardys, and we hope Jeff Hardy gets the help he needs.
Absolutely.
And if he doesn't, and he keeps driving, lock him up.
Lock him up.
Top 5 rugby colleges.
So number 5 for me is Cal. Cal historically has been the most dominant program, and it's not even close. Winner of national championship, up, down, left, right, and center. They must have like 30 championships over the years. So the problem is they've kind of fallen off. I don't know what it is, if it's political or what, but they've fallen off big time. But Cal Berkeley makes my top 5. Life University outside of Atlanta, powerhouse right now, and has been forever. We used to play them at Charlotte Rugby Club when I was cutting my teeth learning rugby. As a men's club, I was playing at like 17, but most of those guys were like 30, right?
Yeah.
They were playing these kids that were going to Life University to get, they were mostly from overseas, like South Africa. They have a huge South Africa connection there, so they just beat everybody. Lindenwood is a small university that nobody really knows where it is. It's outside of St. Louis, but they've been very successful in recruiting rugby talent. You can get a scholarship there, and they one of the first, and they really reached out all across the nation to bring in recruits, so they're doing really well. Had to give number 2 to Dartmouth, which is in New Hampshire, obviously. Huge historical program. Mags, the CEO of the Free Jacks, went there, was the coach there for a long time. They've won national championships. A lot of their players also help coach in the offseason for Dartmouth, so I love that New Hampshire connection as well. And finally, my university, the University of South Carolina, is making big moves right now. We've got 18 kids signed up as recruits to come into play for this year. We've got a 3-time national championship coach that's coming back home. He played at Carolina when he was a young man, coming back home to play at Carolina. I'm on the board of trustees, so I'm a little bit biased, but South Carolina is going to be real good in the next couple of years.
Do you fly down to go see some games?
Yes, I do try to about once a year. They have an alumni weekend. It's this weekend. It's going to be February the 5th, so I'll be down there for that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, this one I'm very curious on.
Okay. Let me flip my... There we go. All right.
Top 5 songs of the 90s.
So, right now I listen to a lot of electronic music, old country, and sometimes rock or metal, but metal's really fallen off for me. But when I was a kid, metal was huge for me. I think my first cassette tape was Master of Puppets, Metallica.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my perspective on this. Number 5, More Human Than Human, White Zombie.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Rob Zombie from Haverhill, Massachusetts, right down the road from here.
Is he from Wait.
Yeah.
I never knew
that. Haverhill. Oh, yeah. He is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, so I'm a fan of... He gets a lot of flack for his movies.
Okay.
I do really like his first remake of Halloween.
Okay, yeah, me too. House of 1,000 Corpses is really good too. Now, it falls off in Halloween 2 that he remade because he didn't actually want to make that movie.
I've seen the videos. Like there was so much arguing about what they're going to do.
He did not want to make that movie. I think if you just look at the first one, it's a masterpiece. The second one, it really falls off. He's doing the Munsters right now. He's doing a remake of the Munsters.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah. I did not know he was from Haverhill. I will say Halloween 2, though, Rob Zombie's version, there's something there.
Yep.
It just wasn't completed.
Yeah, it doesn't feel completed. Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say to Rob, you don't have to put your wife in everything.
Everybody says that about him. It's so funny, yeah. But great musician, by the way, and a great artist. He did, so a lot of people don't know this. If you look back at Beavis and Butthead Do America, the scene where they're out in the desert and it gets all psychedelic, that was him that made that.
Oh, really?
How about that? Yeah.
Very talented guy. I can't believe I didn't know he was from Haverhill. That's crazy.
The next one on here, because I am an old country fan, is I'm Gonna Be Somebody by Travis Tritt.
Okay.
Great song, rags to riches story within the song. Apparently Big E, which is Dale Earnhardt Sr., when he was taking his private jet to the racetrack, he would blare that over and over again. So that's a great song, yeah.
I didn't get in the country till I got to college, so.
Right on, me too, pretty much, yeah. I stayed away from it because my mom would always be like, country music is terrible, because she was a metalhead, and that's how I got into metal. So I wouldn't listen to it until some of my buddies were like, you really need to listen to old country music. Now, the country they put on the radio right now is not really country music, folks.
It's pop music.
Yeah, it's pop music, so you got to look at the old stuff. Where are we at? So number 3 for me is a metal band that like really took me by storm when I was a kid. Slipknot.
Oh, okay.
Slipknot. Spit It Out by Slipknot. Excellent song. And then number 2, Blind by Korn. Korn was another band that like really, it blew my hair back, man, when I first heard it. I was like, this is awesome, because I grew up on like thrash metal and just like AC/DC and that sort of stuff. But then when you heard the music that was being made from guys that were like kind of close to my age, it was really cool.
Life is Peachy is probably one of my favorite albums.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
It's been a while since I've listened to that, but man, the stuff Jonathan Davis could do.
With the bagpipes too? How cool was that? That he could play the bagpipes? Yeah.
I remember watching TRL every day.
Yeah, me too.
I think, what was this? It was off Follow the Leader.
Got the Life?
Got the Life. It went up against the Backstreet Boys and Sync every week, and it would lose, and then I always would root for Korn. Even like I never hated like boy bands in the 90s, but you know, all the girls at school would be like, "Oh, I love the Backstreet Boys," and we're like, "All right, whatever."
Right.
And then finally, Korn won.
Yeah.
And it was like, "Oh, well, we finally surpassed these guys.
We did something, yeah."
You know?
Yeah, I really used to like them a lot. Like it still kind of holds up. There's other music acts that hold up better than they do, but every once in a while you got to throw it in there and listen to it for sure. Finally, I'm going to give it to an old country band, Brooks and Dunn, Boot Scootin' Boogie. Now, when you put that on, I don't care who you are. If you don't like country, you listen to that and you're slapping your knee. It is a banger, folks.
Yeah. I like that. No question for you, because I brought this up because I keep hearing in interviews, I'm like revisiting Nirvana again.
Okay.
And the Foo Fighters, I should say. I don't know if there's something up with me there, but I heard a lot of people saying that Smells Like Teen Spirit was the song of the decade.
I feel like it came in, it was 90, I feel like that it came out.
Maybe 91, 92.
Okay, so very early on in the decade. Not for me. They're definitely not in my top 10, as not even probably top 25 favorite bands. I'm not a huge Nirvana guy, never have been. There's other bands that I would put ahead of them. I think with what happened to Kurt Cobain, people elevate based on his death and stuff like that. They elevate the band. Now, was it impactful at the time? Absolutely. And that song is fantastic, and they made a lot of great songs. But for me, it just didn't hit as much.
Do you think grunge though was like really important to the early '90s, because like that just like kind of went? You went from hair bands to grunge rock. Like
I think you needed it, right? It was the transition between hair metal to grunge, and then new metal eventually crept in there after that. So I think it was necessary. I'm more of a Soundgarden fan now that I'm thinking of it, compared to Nirvana. I was more of a Soundgarden guy. Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. No, I don't know. I've just been into it lately, and I will say I remember exactly. It was '94 when Kurt Cobain died, and I remember Kurt Loder came on TV. He said it. I got on my bike because we had a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and I'm like, "You guys are gonna believe this? Kurt Cobain died."
Yeah.
You know,
it was a huge moment for all of us, I think, at that age group. Yeah, terrible thing that happened, obviously. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, who knows what he... But you know what, though? Like, we've talked about this on the show. You look at Tupac, you look at Biggie, but then you look at, like, Jay-Z and Nas, right?
Yeah.
If you die young, does your music... No one ever can say...
You're going out on a high because it's obviously tragic that they died so young, right? And there's that unpotential. But was it going to get better after that? Maybe not.
You wonder, like...
Yeah, maybe not.
I mean, Jay-Z's had some good albums, like, that post, but, like, as he's gotten older, it's not great stuff anymore.
Right. I think the whole mindset is like when you're a young person and you're not yet famous, like everything is so important when you're doing this creative stuff because you're so hungry. And then once you've got the success, it's more about maintaining that as opposed to being hungry and putting all of the effort into it.
No, I agree. Yeah. I agree. One guy I got to say, though, that just he can always do it, I feel like, is Dave Grohl.
Oh, yeah.
I wish, I don't know what's going to happen with the Foo Fighters with Taylor passing away. But,
right.
All right. Want to get into my favorite segment of the show.
Okay.
Blank versus blank. I'm going to give you two things. You got to pick one, and you got to tell me why.
All right.
First one, better athlete, Bodine Walker or Julian Edelman?
Now, Bodine Walker's very good, but I think he only plays two positions in rugby, primarily. Like, he loves playing fullback, but he's a great fly half. Julian Edelman, I think his transition may have been more difficult, coming from quarterback to wide receiver. I'm going to give it to Julian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thought that was a good little matchup there. Two Boston-related music groups.
Sure.
They're very, very different from each other.
All right.
House of Pain
Okay.
or New Kids on the Block?
I'm going to give it to House of Pain, even though I only know one of their songs, which is what everybody knows, the Jump Around. Not a big boy band guy.
See, I did like the New Kids when I was in like first grade.
Sure.
You could buy their
You know what? I'm not going to lie. NSYNC they're all right. They're all right.
Well, look at Justin Timberlake. He became like the biggest.
Oh,
thing,
yeah. Huge deal. Yeah.
So, all right. If you were to go watch a game, now, again, this is very different, two different places, but would you rather go to Veterans Memorial or Gillette Stadium? We're talking about two totally different atmospheres here.
For sure. So we're seeing rugby at Quincy.
Like, where would you rather be? Because obviously you got Gillette, the big stadium. The more intimate one would be Veterans.
I think it's actually pretty easy. I'm going to say Quincy. Fort Quincy is better because it's closer to me. It's more of an intimate atmosphere. The parking is not too bad, right? You get in and out of there pretty quickly. And also just like, I'm more of a rugby guy nowadays. Like, I don't think I'm going to watch one single full game of American football this year. I don't think it's going to happen.
Would you watch any of the MLS or?
Yes, I actually like the MLS. I am a soccer guy. I don't watch all of the MLS all the time. I don't watch a lot of the Revs games, but I'm here for it. Like, I would watch a full Revs game more so than an American football game. I think it's the stoppages and the commercials that just drive me crazy.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I will say sometimes I like those smaller venues though. I know I love it for wrestling.
Yeah.
As a pro wrestling fan, I love the small venues because you can actually be heard and there's just something different. When you're sitting up there, as much as I love WrestleMania, it's like I'm so far away from it.
Right, exactly.
Speaking of wrestling, though, Owen Hart or the British Bulldog?
Gosh, I mean, I didn't really follow either one of those guys' career. I'm gonna give it to Owen. Rest in peace. Both of them are dead, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Owen died tragically, though.
British Bulldog died of a heart attack at like 40.
Whoa, 40 years old.
Yeah, he's young.
Oh boy.
I did meet his son,
Okay.
D.H. Smith, who is humongous. If you see the picture with me, like he dwarfs me by,
No kidding.
more than you dwarf me. So I think I know the answer to this now, but I'm going to ask anyways. Basketball or soccer?
Soccer, yeah. I enjoy both of them because it's more fast-paced than other sports, but soccer gets the nod.
All right, we got two New England states here. I would never live in one of them.
All right.
Maybe would live in the other. First one, I would not live in Massachusetts, even though I don't mind going to Massachusetts, or Maine.
Maine gets the nod for me. There's a lot more to do in Massachusetts in terms of that's where all the sports teams are, so you can go down there and all that sort of stuff. But I think Maine wins. Stephen King, wilderness, beautiful vacation land, all of that sort of stuff. One of my favorite places to go is a vegan donut shop right across the border there. We go there like once a month. They change up their menu and stuff like that. Really cool place to go. Called Lovebird Donuts. Okay. So yeah, I'm more of a Maine guy for sure.
See, I just struggle. I guess it's not just Massachusetts because like I struggle in the cities. Mm-hmm. My brother just had a baby. They had it in Boston. I wanted to get there the day of.
Yep.
Once Kara was born, and I'm driving in Boston, being like,
it's awful, right?
I couldn't do this. I could not
terrible.
do this on a regular. How do people live like this?
I don't know. It's got the worst traffic in the entire country right now, and I truly believe it because you can't go anywhere there's always traffic. There's too many people that live there. If you think that's bad, try to go to Hoboken and watch one of those games when the Free Jacks play New Jersey. It is awful. There's no parking whatsoever. There's too many people that live in these areas.
We went to the Barclays Center for the WWE Hall of Fame one time, and I was like, I'm never coming back to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I'm never coming back here.
Driving is a nightmare. Unfortunately, you have to, if you're points north like we are, we have to drive through Boston to get to Quincy. And boy, it's a struggle every time.
Yeah.
I just get anxiety driving through those big cities. I hate it.
I 100% agree. It's just not something I'm into. I got to ask this because I'm not actually sure what you're going to say to this.
All right.
Who would you rather root for, the Tar Heels or Duke?
Tar Heels. My girlfriend says that I am a low-key Tar Heels fan.
Okay.
And I think she's kind of right. Duke is awful, by the way. Like I absolutely hate Duke. There's a lot of this stuff that goes on where, because I went to the University of South Carolina, Fighting Gamecocks is our mascot. We'll have a lot of Gamecocks that will say, I'm a Gamecock football fan, but I'm a Duke Blue Devil basketball fan, and it drives me nuts. Like, come on, man, like. Can't you just be one? Pick one team. I understand like the success of them in basketball is huge, but you can't really do that. It seems like it should be against the rules to do that. I can't stand them. All of the kids that go to Duke, by the way, are from around here. North Carolinians go to Duke. Everybody goes to UNC if you're from North Carolina.
See, I get I'm a Notre Dame football fan.
All right.
And that's kind of where it ends. Like, people will be like, oh, Notre Dame's getting killed in this hockey game. I go,
don't care,
okay.
Right?
I was like, all right, well, go Notre Dame. But, like, that's not her. I guess if I had to pick a college hockey team, I'd just say UNH.
Right, yeah.
Because my brother went there, but I don't care.
Yes.
And when it comes to college basketball, I also don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
It's one of those things where, like, I think the South has just this culture of like, what school do you go to? It's so important even beyond when you go to school there. Because of the tailgating atmosphere, the athletics are so important. And it's not just football. Football is huge. It's king in the South, collegiate football. But there's so many diehard fans of basketball and also baseball, believe it or not. Huge baseball tradition down there in the Southeastern Conference specifically, of just winning national championships after national championships. It's a gauntlet there when you play in that conference. South Carolina's won 2 national championships back-to-back in 10 and 11. So we got a great tradition. So there's a lot of people that follow just football, like you're saying, but there's a lot of people that are just overall, they just love their school's athletics.
See, what I would really love is if I grew up wrestling, and you can only watch on ESPN like once a year.
Yeah.
Like I'd always be like, am I rooting for Penn State? But they're like dominating. Like I wish it was on more so I could just pick a school and run with them all year.
Right. It's unfortunately it's such a fringe sport that I kind of guess that it's difficult to watch. I think the Big East is probably, or not the Big East, the Big 12, Big 10?
Big 10, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest conference for those folks, yeah.
And I mean, it is what it is. Like that wrestling there would be no pro wrestling if that wrestling worked and was made money all those years ago.
Right, exactly.
Vince McMahon or Eric Bischoff?
Oh, man. I'm a WCW guy. You know that. Vince McMahon, I have to pick him.
He's got a scandal going on right now, too.
I heard about this. Yeah, he had to step down as CEO of the company. But other than that, I think you have to pick him. Like, he's Mr. Mr. Competitive, right? He's knocked out all of his competition and working on the other one right now. But I think it's a little bit more difficult right now with what's happening because the product of WWE, from my understanding, is just not as good as it used to be, right? So, but I mean, you have to give him the nod. He beat WCW, right? He won the war, so you have to give it to him.
And he just loves it. I mean, he loves wrestling. But WWE though, they're not hurting for money at all. And they've let the product go stagnant, but it doesn't matter because they're printing cash at this point.
Right.
But they're always going to keep this is what's going to happen. You do have the people that are like, I'm not watching anymore. But then you have like the diehard fans
Yeah,
that just love
that'll
wrestling.
never stop,
We're
right.
always going to watch. But then the casual fans that aren't like diehard, they don't leave either. They just are like, oh, this is what the product is.
Yeah.
They're not too critical of it.
Right.
You have something else?
I think I was just going to say that, the smart marks, I think, of what has ruined wrestling to a certain extent, right? Because they get so jaded with the product, because they know exactly what's going to happen. They're no longer kids, so they understand that wrestling isn't real, right? Spoiler. And they always want to outsmart the writers and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of a toxic mindset to have, right? Because you're always going to expect things to be worse than what maybe it truly is.
Yeah, the smarks are tough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm probably a smark, to be honest. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, final one. This is a tough one. Would you rather do the Jacks Rangers show or be playing rugby?
It's been so long since I've played. God, this is a tough one, man, because when we were coming up, we didn't have the option of playing professionally. And by the way, I was not very good. I was a B-side player all day long. Never really played for the main A-side for Carolina. Gosh, I think I'll take what I do right now. I absolutely love what I do. It's more of a hobby. We have a sponsor, thank goodness. Storm Along is our sponsor. But other than that, it's been such a great experience. It's brought so much joy to my life. It's very time consuming and it's a long season, right? So you kind of do get burnt out a little bit. But man, I wouldn't change it for the world. This has been absolutely a blast. When you're doing something that you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like it's work at all.
That's true.
It's amazing. And for all those people out there that have a dream or have a goal, keep going, man. And if you haven't started, just start, because it'll fill your life with joy when you're actually going through it. Sometimes it's difficult, but overall, if you're doing something that you're passionate about, it's a good time.
Hey, you got one crack at life, so take your opportunities.
Or heck yeah, excuse me.
Phil, I appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back again.
Huzzah.
Definitely check out Jack Rangers Jack Rangers show.
There it is.
Because it is on YouTube, but you can also find it on a podcast. So definitely look that up. It looks like we kept Nick out of the studio again, so that's good. But everyone, I want everybody to have a great week. Keep your heads up, and until next time, let freedom ring.
Woo!